let's kill this plant. Lee here, and this is the golden pothos, one of the easiest plants to propagate. Today, we're going to see how we can maximize root growth when doing a water propagation. First, let's take our cuttings. Generally, roots will grow from the aerial root where the leaf meets the stem. Make sure to leave a little room on both sides because there may be other growth points or nodes where the roots can sprout from. One rumor I've heard is people having success with liquid seaweed as an additive to their water propagation. The product I picked up is Neptune's Harvest seaweed plant food. The instructions say to shake well before use and add 1 tablespoon to each gallon of water. Keep out of reach of children. I asked my dad and he said it's fine. The second rumor is rooting with a cutting that already has established roots. This is a pre-rooted golden pothos. I've had this cutting for over a year. I've rarely changed the water and never added any kinds of fertilizer. As you can see, it's produced another leaf and is working on a third. Finally, we have our control with just distilled water. All of our cuttings will be receiving bright indirect sunlight with around 60% humidity. I'll change the water once a week with the pre-rooted and control getting distilled water and the seaweed always receiving the fertilized water. Checking in with our golden pothos, it's been almost a month and let's see how their root growth is developing. Taking a look at our control, just distilled water, you can see that one of them has not started to root yet, but we have pretty good growth on 2 leaves. This was probably our smallest one, which oddly enough has the longest, most healthy root. This one as well. Moving over to our cuttings rooted with the pre-rooted cuttings. Seem to be on average a little bit smaller than just the distilled water in the control. But all 3 have rooted. And finally, looking at the plant rooted in seaweed water. Again, similar to our regular water, just 2 seems to have rooted, but they probably have the smallest root development. Oh, no, I lied. Nearly 2 months later in this water propagation, this is going to be the final update. Let's take a closer look and compare our results. The basic water propagation produced roots from 2 out of the 3 cuttings. The main thing I noticed was that the 2 cuttings that did produce roots, they're also beginning to put out new leaves from their growth points. And the last cutting that remained unrooted, it still looks healthy, and looking closer, the plant is not actually damaged and is still alive. The propagation with the pre-rooted cutting produced consistent results. All 3 cuttings produce roots, and 2 out of the 3 cuttings are starting to form a new leaf from their growth point. On average, their root development is much smaller than the cuttings in the control that did actually root. The water propagation using liquid seaweed produced the most inconsistent results. They produced small root development, fewer new growth points, and the cutting that did actually produce a new growth point strangely didn't produce any roots at all. For the rest of this video, while I repot, I'll post all the data that I collected with their averages, and then I'll add some final thoughts. Thanks for watching this nearly 60-day Pothos propagation with me. Here are some final thoughts to leave you with. While I wouldn't necessarily recommend using liquid seaweed due to the inconsistent results that I got, this small test doesn't really show that using pre-rooted cuttings versus water is that much better. While you might get a new growth point a little bit faster, it might be at the cost of a less developed root system. I hope this helps give you some clarity and at least helps debunk some myths about water additives while you're propagating. Thanks for helping me not kill this plant.